The night was heavy with silence, broken only by the sound of rustling leaves. The moon hung low in the sky, casting pale light over the forest. A young human boy, no older than 16, walked carefully between the tall trees. He was far from the safety of his camp, but curiosity had pulled him out into the unknown. He had heard strange cries echoing across the woods, cries that sounded neither human nor animal. His heart beat faster as he followed the faint noise. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every whisper of the wind sounded like a warning. Still, he moved forward, his hands gripping a broken branch he had taken as a weapon. The boy had never seen an alien before, only heard stories whispered by the elders around the fire. Stories that spoke of tall figures with glowing eyes and strange voices. Some said they were dangerous, some said they were wise, but none of the humans dared to go near their lands. The sound grew clearer. It was not the roar of a beast, but the weak, trembling cry of someone in pain. His steps quickened, and soon his eyes caught sight of movement near the edge of a clearing. There, lying on the ground, was a figure. Her skin shimmered faintly under the moonlight, marked with patterns no human could have. Her long silver hair was tangled, and her breathing came out in shallow gasps. The boy froze. His heart screamed at him to run, but his feet held still. Before he could decide what to do, another sound shattered the night. A growl, deep and heavy, rolled from the darkness. From between the trees, a monstrous beast crept forward. Its eyes glowed yellow, its sharp fangs dripping with saliva. The boy's throat went dry. The creature was unlike anything he had ever seen, taller than him, with black fur and claws that could tear stone, and its gaze was fixed on the wounded alien girl. The boy's mind screamed at him to turn back, to escape before the beast noticed him. But then he saw her eyes open, wide with fear. She tried to push herself up, but her leg was badly injured. She could not run. The beast snarled and moved closer, ready to strike. Something inside the boy stirred. He could not explain it. He had no reason to risk his life. She was not even human, yet his heart told him to move. He tightened his grip on the branch and stepped into the clearing. His voice trembled, but he shouted to draw the beast's attention. The monster turned its glowing eyes on him. Its growl shook the air. The boy's legs trembled, but he stood his ground. He raised the branch high, waiting for the beast to leap, and then it did. Faster than his eyes could follow, the impact knocked him to the ground. His branch shattered like dry wood against the beast's weight. Pain shot through his arm as sharp claws scraped across his shoulder. He rolled aside just in time to avoid the crushing jaws. The beast snapped at the air, its saliva hissing on the earth like poison. The boy's eyes darted to the alien girl. She was trying to crawl away, but she was too weak. If the beast finished him, she would be next. He forced himself to stand. His body shook, but he raised a broken shard of the branch like a knife. The beast lunged again. This time, the boy thrust the shard into its side. The monster roared, throwing him across the clearing. His back slammed against a tree, and his breath left his chest in a painful gasp. But as he looked down, horror struck him. Its fangs had found his arm. The beast's teeth sank deep into his flesh, and a strange burning spread through his veins. The boy screamed. The wound glowed faintly, as if something unnatural had entered his blood. The beast pulled back, its yellow eyes watching him with strange hunger. The alien girl's weak voice cried out in a language he could not understand, but her eyes pleaded with him not to give up. The boy forced himself to rise again, blood dripping from his arm. He stood between the beast and the girl, refusing to step aside. For a moment, time seemed frozen. The beast lowered its head, preparing for the final strike. The boy clenched his jaw, ready to die if it meant saving her. But then, another sound shook the forest. A heavy voice, deep and commanding, roared from the shadows. The beast stopped, its ears twitching. From the trees, figures emerged, tall and powerful. Their eyes glowed like fire in the dark. At their center stood an alien chief, his presence strong enough to silence the night. The boy's vision blurred as pain and fear overwhelmed him. His knees gave way, and he collapsed. The last thing he saw was the alien chief stepping into the clearing, his sharp gaze fixed not on the beast, but on the human boy who had dared to fight it. And then, everything went dark. The boy woke to the sound of strange voices, his body ached, and his arm burned with fire where the beast had bitten him. Slowly, his eyes opened. He was no longer in the forest but inside a wide tent, lit by blue flames that gave no smoke. The air smelled of herbs and metal. Around him stood tall figures with glowing eyes. They spoke in a language he could not understand. Their sharp features and patterned skin marked them as aliens, the same kind he had only heard about in stories. At the center of the group stood the wounded alien girl he had saved. She leaned on a staff, her silver hair glowing faintly in the light. Her eyes softened when she saw him awake. But the others did not look at him with kindness. Their stares were heavy with suspicion. Some whispered, while pointing to the bandage on his arm. The boy glanced at the wound and froze. The mark left by the beast was not normal. The skin around it glowed faintly, red lines spreading like fire under his flesh. The alien girl spoke quickly to her people, defending him. Her voice trembled, but her words were strong. The chief entered the tent, his presence making everyone fall silent. He was tall and broad, his chest marked with scars of many battles. His golden eyes burned as he looked at the human boy. The chief's voice was deep and commanding. He pointed to the boy's wound and spoke a single word that the boy could not understand. But the reaction of the others made it clear. They feared him. The boy tried to sit up, but his body felt heavy. He whispered weakly, I only tried to help." His words were useless. No one understood his tongue. Still, his tone carried honesty. The alien girl stepped closer, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. She looked at the chief and spoke firmly, as if pleading his case. The chief's expression was hard. But he did not strike or order the boy's death. Instead, he raised his hand, and the crowd stepped back. 2 warriors approached and lifted the boy. Their grips were strong but not cruel. They carried him outside the tent. The night air was cold. The boy saw the alien camp for the first time. Dozens of tents surrounded a great fire at the center. Strange banners waved in the wind. Children hid behind their mothers as the boy passed. Warriors glared at him as if he were a curse walking among them. The warriors dropped him near the edge of the fire circle. The chief stepped forward, his deep voice echoing through the camp. The boy could not understand his words, but the tone was clear. It was a warning. The alien girl sat near him, refusing to leave his side. She looked into his eyes and whispered softly. Though he could not understand the words, he felt her kindness. She pressed a pouch of herbs to his arm, and for a moment the burning eased. But that peace did not last. As the fire crackled, the boy's vision blurred. His heart raced. His body shook as if something inside was fighting to take control. He clutched his chest, his breathing sharp and painful. His arm glowed brighter, spreading light through his veins. The aliens gasped, some backing away in fear. Warriors raised their weapons, ready to strike him down. The boy screamed as the pain grew unbearable. He felt claws in his blood, a growl in his throat. His hands tightened into fists, his nails sharper than before. For a moment, his eyes glowed with the same yellow light as the beast. The alien girl threw herself between him and the warriors, shouting desperately. The chief raised his hand again, stopping them. His golden eyes studied the boy carefully, not with fear, but with deep thought. The fire burned low, and the camp grew silent. The boy finally collapsed, his body trembling. Sweat covered his face. His breathing was shallow but steady again. The glow in his veins dimmed, leaving only the mark of the beast on his arm. The chief spoke slowly, his tone heavy with meaning. The girl answered him, her words strong. For a long moment, the chief stared at the human boy. Then he turned and walked away. His warriors lowered their weapons, though their eyes stayed filled with suspicion. The boy lay on the ground, his strength fading. The alien girl knelt beside him, brushing hair. From his face, she whispered softly, her words calm and kind. Though he did not understand, her voice gave him comfort. As sleep pulled him back into darkness, one thought filled his mind. Something had changed inside him. He was no longer only human. The beast's power was now a part of him, and somewhere deep inside, the beast was waiting to rise again. The boy woke again, this time to the sound of running water. He found himself lying near a stream at the edge of the alien camp. His body felt weak, but the burning in his arm had calmed. The alien girl sat beside him, crushing herbs with a flat stone. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders, glowing faintly in the sunlight. When she noticed his eyes open, she smiled gently, though her face carried worry. She held a cup of water to his lips, and he drank slowly. His throat was dry, his body was still heavy, but his spirit burned with questions. Why had the beast chosen him? Why did the aliens keep him alive? And what would they do with him now? Not far from them, warriors stood watch. Their eyes never left the boy. He could feel their distrust to them. He was not a guest, but a danger. The mark of the beast on his arm was enough to turn him into a curse. Later that day, the chief returned. His presence was powerful. The crowd of aliens fell silent when he spoke. The boy could not understand the words, but the tone was clear. A decision had been made, the chief's golden eyes fixed on the boy. Then he pointed to the mountains beyond the forest. His voice was sharp, commanding. The alien girl looked at the boy with concern. She explained with gestures, drawing shapes in the dirt, pointing to plants and then to his wound. The boy slowly understood. He had been given a trial. He must enter the mountains and bring back a rare healing herb. Only then would he prove he was not a curse. If he failed, the tribe would turn against him. The boy's heart pounded. He was weak, but he could not refuse. He nodded firmly, showing his will to accept. The alien girl reached for his hand, her touch warm and soft. She whispered something he could not understand, but the kindness in her eyes told him she wanted him to survive. The next morning, the boy was led to the edge of the camp. The warriors armed him with only a small blade of alien steel, sharp and curved. It was clear they wanted him to die in the mountains, not return as a hero. The chief gave him one last look, then turned his back. The boy stepped into the forest. The trees grew darker as he walked, the air heavy with the cries of hidden creatures. His arm still burned from time to time, a reminder of the beast's bite. Sometimes he thought he heard whispers in his head, strange growls echoing from inside his blood, but he pressed forward. Hours passed, and the path became steep. Rocks cut his hands, and roots caught his feet. The mountain loomed tall, covered in mist. Somewhere inside was the herb he needed. But the land was dangerous, and shadows moved in the fog. The boy reached a narrow cave. His body begged for rest, but his trial had just begun. He entered carefully, the blade in his hand. The air inside was damp. Glowing mushrooms lit the walls faintly, and deep in the darkness he saw the herb. Its petals were bright red, glowing like fire. He moved closer, but suddenly the ground trembled. From the shadows, strange creatures crawled out. They were smaller than the beast from the forest, but shared its glowing yellow eyes. Their claws scraped the stone, and their growls echoed in the cave. Fear gripped the boy's heart. He raised the blade, his arms shaking. The creatures circled him, waiting to strike. His vision blurred. The burning in his arm grew stronger. Suddenly, his senses sharpened. He could hear every breath, feel every vibration in the stone. The beast's power inside him was waking. One creature leaped. The boy's body moved faster than his mind. He struck with the blade and rolled aside. The creature fell. Another attacked, and he dodged, striking again. His speed was unnatural, his strength greater than before. For the first time, he felt the beast's instincts guiding him, but it frightened him. His hands shook after each strike. His breath came heavy. He felt like a stranger in his own skin. Yet he fought on until the last creature fell. Its body twitched, then stilled. The cave fell silent once more. The boy stumbled forward. Reaching the herb, he tore it carefully and held it close. Its glow reflected in his tired eyes. He had survived the trial, but at what cost? The beast's power had saved him, but it had also taken root deeper inside. As he stepped out of the cave, the alien girl appeared. She had followed him despite the danger. Her face filled with relief when she saw him alive. She touched his arm gently, whispering softly. Her eyes showed pride, but also fear. She had seen how he fought, and she knew the beast inside him was growing stronger. Together, they walked down the mountain. The boy carried the herb, but he also carried a truth he could not escape. He was no longer only human. He was becoming something else, and the tribe would soon have to decide if that something was their salvation or their doom. The night was restless in the alien camp. The great fire burned low, sending shadows crawling over the tents. The human boy sat apart from the others, staring at the wound on his arm. The glowing mark seemed brighter than before, red lines twisting like veins of fire every time he touched it. A strange energy surged through him, half painful, half powerful. The alien girl sat beside him. Her silver hair glimmered under the firelight. She spoke softly, her voice carrying comfort, even if he did not know her words. She pointed to the herb he had brought back and then to his arm. The tribe's healers had used it to slow the burning, but they could not remove the curse. The boy closed his eyes. His mind drifted back to the cave, to the speed and strength that had carried him through the fight. He remembered the glowing eyes of the smaller beasts, the growl that had risen in his own throat. It frightened him. What if he was becoming one of them? From across the fire, the alien warriors watched him closely, their hands never far from their weapons. The chief sat silent, his golden eyes studying the boy with deep thought. Some of the tribe whispered, calling him half monster. Others argued that he was brave, that he had saved the girl and brought back the herb. But fear was stronger than gratitude. That night when the camp grew quiet, the boy awoke suddenly. His chest heaved, his breath sharp, sweat covered his face. He had dreamed of the forest, of hunting with claws and fangs. He had dreamed of tearing flesh, and when he looked down, he saw his nails longer, sharper than before. Panic filled him. He stumbled to the stream outside the camp and looked into the water. For a moment, his reflection did not look human. His eyes glowed faint yellow, his teeth sharper. He splashed water on his face, trembling. The beast inside him was awakening, and he could not control it. The alien girl followed him quietly. She placed her hand on his shoulder. Her eyes showed no fear, only sadness. She spoke his name softly, as if reminding him who he was. Slowly, his breath calmed, and the glow faded from his eyes. But the fear did not leave his heart. The next day, the chief summoned him. The boy was led before the great fire. The whole tribe gathered to watch. The chief spoke in his deep voice, pointing to the boy's arm. The girl translated with simple gestures. He was being judged. If the curse made him too dangerous, they would end his life before it spread. The boy's heart pounded. He wanted to scream that he was still human, still himself, but even he was no longer sure. He looked at his trembling hands, the claws that had begun to show in his dreams. The whispers grew louder. Warriors stepped forward, ready to carry out the order if the chief gave it. But before a decision was made, a sudden scream cut through the camp. A young alien child ran into the fire circle, crying. Behind him, shadows moved between the tents. Small creatures, like the ones from the cave, had entered the camp. Their glowing eyes and snarls filled the air. The boy did not think. Instinct drove him. He leaped forward, his body moving faster than before. He struck one creature with his bare hand, sending it crashing into the ground. His strength shocked even himself. Another lunged at the child, and the boy caught it midair, twisting with beast-like force. The child escaped, but the boy's eyes glowed bright yellow. The tribe gasped. Some shouted in fear. Others stared in awe. The boy tore through the attackers with a speed and power no human should have. But when the last creature fell, he stood in the center of the camp, his chest heaving, blood on his hands, his eyes still. Glowing, the alien girl rushed to him. She touched his face and whispered, slowly, his eyes dimmed back to human. His body collapsed to the ground, trembling from the battle. The camp was silent, all eyes fixed on him. The chief stepped forward, his golden eyes burned like fire. He looked at the boy not with fear, but with recognition. The tribe whispered in confusion. Was this boy a monster, or was he something else? The chief raised his hand for silence. His voice rang out. The alien girl translated softly. He declared that the boy carried the curse of the beast, but he also carried the courage of a warrior. If he could control the power, he might become stronger than even their finest fighters. But if he lost control, he would bring doom upon them all. The boy lay on the ground, his breath heavy. He understood only fragments, but he felt the weight of the words. His future with the tribe was no longer certain. That night, as he lay in the tent, his wound pulsing with strange light, the boy whispered to himself, "Am I still human, or am I becoming something else?" His eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and deep inside, the beast growled, waiting, **. The camp seemed calm the next morning, but silence carried hidden storms. The human boy sat near the fire, his arms still glowing faintly. He felt the stares of every warrior on his back. Their whispers followed him wherever he went. Some called him brave, others called him cursed, but all of them kept their distance. The alien girl stayed close, refusing to leave him alone. She brought him food and herbs. Her kindness was the only light in the heavy shadows that surrounded him. Yet even her presence could not erase the tension growing among the tribe. The boy could feel it, like thunder waiting to break, that evening. The tribe gathered for a feast. The fires burned high, and drums beat through the night air. It was a celebration for surviving the attack of the smaller beasts. Meat was roasted. Voices rose in song, but beneath the cheer, eyes often turned toward the boy. Among the warriors, one stood out. A tall alien with dark scars across his face. His name was Vainer, and his pride was as sharp as his blade. He had once been favored by the chief, but ever since the human boy had arrived, attention had shifted. Vainer's jealousy burned like fire. To him, the boy was not a hero, he was a rival, a threat to his honor. Vainer stood and raised his voice. His words rolled like thunder, accusing the boy of being a danger to them all. He shouted that the boy was no savior, but a curse that would one day destroy their tribe. Many nodded in fear, agreeing. Others stayed silent, unsure. The alien girl rose quickly, her voice sharp and filled with fire. She defended the boy, reminding them that he had saved her life. She argued that he had fought the beasts when no one else could, but Vainer only sneered. His eyes gleamed with hatred. He challenged the boy, not with words, but with action. Suddenly, he grabbed a piece of meat from the fire and hurled it at the boy's feet. His voice carried mockery. His words were clear, even without translation. He treated the human like an animal, daring him to prove himself. The camp grew silent, all eyes fixed on the boy. The boy clenched his fists, his heart raced. He wanted to ignore the insult, but the beast inside him stirred. His vision blurred, his blood burned. The glow in his arms spread through his veins. He felt his breath grow sharp, a growl rising from his throat. Before he could stop himself, he stood. His eyes glowed faintly yellow. The tribe gasped. The beast inside him clawed at his mind, whispering to strike, to fight, to tear. Vainer smirked, as if he had been waiting for this. He shouted louder, pointing at the boy, calling him monster. The boy's control cracked with a sudden roar. He lunged across the fire circle. His speed shocked everyone. He struck Vainer, sending him crashing to the ground. The crowd shouted in panic. Warriors leapt to their feet. The girl screamed his name, trying to pull him back. But the beast had tasted his rage. His nails cut into Vainer's armor. His teeth clenched as if ready to bite. His breath came in sharp growls. For a moment, he was no longer human, no longer boy. He was predator. The chief rose to his feet, His voice boomed through the camp. The boy froze, trembling. His eyes flickered. Between yellow and human, sweat poured down his face. Slowly he stepped back. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Vaynor staggered to his feet. His mouth twisted into a cruel smile. Blood dripped from his lip. He looked at the tribe and shouted again. Pointing at the boy, the words were clear enough. "See, he is a beast. He cannot control himself." The warriors murmured. Fear spread quickly. Mothers pulled their children close. Some warriors raised their weapons. The boy stood in the center, surrounded, his body shaking. His mind screamed to defend himself, but his heart begged for calm. The alien girl rushed to his side. Her arms wrapped around him. Her voice broke through his haze. She shouted at the others, tears in her eyes. But the fear in the tribe was too strong. The chief raised his hand. His face was heavy with thought. At last he spoke. His words fell like stone. The girl translated in a broken whisper. The boy would be locked away until the tribe decided his fate. Two warriors stepped forward, their grip strong as they seized his arms. The boy did not fight. His head lowered in shame. His body trembled, not from fear of chains, but from fear of himself. He had felt the beast rising, and he knew Vaynor was right about one thing. The monster inside him was growing stronger. As the boy was dragged into a dark tent, the alien girl followed, but the guards blocked her path. She called out to him, her voice filled with sorrow. He turned his head one last time, meeting her eyes, and then the flap closed, leaving him in darkness, in the silence of the prison. The boy sat alone. His arm glowed faintly. The beast inside him whispered louder than before, and though the chains bound his body, nothing could bind the storm awakening within. ***. The camp slept uneasily under the cold moon. The human boy sat in chains inside the dark tent. His arm still glowed faintly, the mark burning like fire beneath his skin. His thoughts twisted like shadows. He had lost control during the feast. He had given Vaynor what he wanted, a reason to call him monster. Yet outside, the tribe had greater fears. The warriors whispered about the great beast, an ancient creature that had haunted their people for generations. It was said to be larger than any other predator, a shadow of death that struck without warning. Some claimed it was the same kind of beast that had bitten the boy, but older, stronger, and far more deadly. The night broke suddenly with screams. The boy snapped awake. His ears caught the sound of chaos. Flames flickered outside his tent. The sharp clash of weapons rang through the camp, and the roar of something massive shook the ground. The flap of the tent tore open. The alien girl rushed inside. Her face pale, her breath sharp. She spoke his name quickly and tried to undo his chains. The boy shook his head, confused. Through the roar of the beast outside, he understood enough. The great beast had come. Before she could free him, a crash tore through the camp. The ground split as a massive claw slammed down, tearing through tents. Warriors screamed as the great beast emerged from the dark. Its eyes burned like molten gold. Its fangs glistened with blood. Its black fur bristled like steel, towering above the tallest of the tribe. The boy's heart pounded. The beast was stronger, larger, more terrifying than the one he had fought in the forest. He pulled at his chains with all his strength. The metal cut his wrists, but he did not stop. The girl struggled beside him, her hands trembling as she worked on the locks. The chief's roar echoed across the camp as he led the warriors into battle. Their spears and blades struck, but they barely scratched the beast. One sweep of its claws sent several warriors flying into the fire. Mothers screamed as they pulled their children away. The tribe was breaking under the monster's power finally. The chains snapped. The boy staggered to his feet. His body shook with fear and rage. The alien girl clutched his arm. Her eyes wide, she tried to warn him, but he stepped forward. His breath came heavy. His eyes flickered yellow. The beast inside him was already awake. He burst from the tent and faced the great beast. The sight froze him for a moment. The creature was a nightmare brought to life. Its growl shook the air. Its claws dripped with blood. It turned its blazing eyes on him, and for a heartbeat, the boy felt a strange connection. The same curse burned in both their veins. The beast charged. The ground trembled beneath its steps. The boy rolled aside as the claws struck where he had stood. He grabbed a fallen spear, his hands trembling. He had no plan, only the burning instinct to fight. The battle was chaos. The great beast tore through warriors as if they were nothing. The chief struck with his golden blade, leaving a deep wound in the creature's side. But even that was not enough. The beast roared and hurled him aside. The chief hit the ground hard. Blood spilling from his chest, the boy's heart burned. He could not let them fall. He tightened his grip on the spear and charged. His speed was not human, his senses sharper than ever. He struck the beast's leg. The spear broke, but the beast staggered. For a moment, the tribe saw hope, but the great beast turned on him. Its fangs sank into his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. The mark on his arm blazed like fire. His scream shook the air, yet instead of death, he felt power, the beast's. Curse surged, his blood boiled with strength. With a roar, the boy struck back, his fists hit with the force of stone. His nails tore through the beast's hide. His eyes glowed bright yellow for a terrifying moment. He looked just like the monster he was fighting. The tribe watched in awe and fear. The human boy fought like no human could. He struck. He growled. Every blow was filled with the beast's power. The great beast howled as the boy drove it back toward the fire. The flames licked its fur, its roars filling the night. The alien girl cried out, her voice carrying through the chaos. Her words reached the boy's ears. Her voice pulled him back from the edge. He blinked, his glowing eyes dimming for a heartbeat. He remembered who he was, not a beast, but human. Gathering his last strength, the boy drove a broken spear deep into the beast's chest. The creature roared, stumbling into the flames, fire consumed. Its scream shook the camp until at last it collapsed. The earth shook as its body fell. Silence followed, broken only by the crackle of fire. The boy dropped to his knees, his chest heaving. Blood covered him, his wound burned, his eyes flickered between human and beast. He felt the whispers of the monster still inside him, waiting. The tribe stared, some with awe, others with terror. The girl rushed to his side, holding him before he could collapse. Her tears fell on his bloodied face. The chief, wounded but alive, raised his voice weakly. He declared that the boy had saved them, but his tone carried warning. The human boy had slain the great beast, yet the beast inside him was only growing stronger. ****. The night was silent after the battle. The great beast lay in the ashes of the fire, its massive body scorched and still. The tribe gathered around in shock. Warriors carried their wounded. Mothers held their children close. No one spoke. All eyes turned toward the human boy. He knelt on the ground, his body trembling. Blood stained his chest and arms. His wound burned with strange fire. His eyes flickered yellow before fading back to human. He could feel the beast inside, whispering, growling, begging to rise again. He closed his fists, fighting the urge to lose himself. The alien girl knelt beside him, her hands pressed to his wounds. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the firelight. She whispered soft words he could not understand, but he felt their meaning. Stay human. Do not fall. Her voice was an anchor in the storm. The chief was carried forward, wounded but alive. His chest was marked with deep cuts from the battle, yet his golden eyes burned with strength as he looked upon the boy. The tribe grew silent, waiting. Their fear hung heavy. They had seen the boy's courage, but they had also seen his curse. Vainer, his face still marked from their fight at the feast, stepped out of the crowd. His voice was sharp and filled with hate. He shouted that the boy was no savior, but a monster. He argued that the beast inside him would one day consume them all. His words struck deep into the tribe's hearts. Many nodded, their fear growing stronger. The alien girl rose quickly, her voice fierce. She defended the boy with every breath. She reminded them that without him, the great beast would have destroyed them all. She cried that he was not monster, But warrior, her words shook with passion, and her eyes filled with tears. The tribe was divided. Some sided with Vaynor, calling for the boy's death. Others whispered in awe, speaking of his bravery. The firelight flickered across their faces, fear and hope clashing in the glow. The chief raised his hand. Silence fell at once. His deep voice carried across the camp. The boy could not understand the language, but he felt the weight of the decision. The chief's eyes were fixed on him, studying not only his wounds, but his spirit. Slowly, the chief stepped forward. His shadow fell across the boy. For a moment, the air was heavy. The tribe waited, breaths held. The chief could end the boy's life with one command, or raise him as warrior. The boy forced himself to stand. His legs shook, his wounds bled, but he met the chief's golden eyes. He placed his hand on his chest and bowed his head. His voice trembled, but he spoke clearly. "I am human. I will fight the beast inside me. I will fight for your people if you let me." Even if they could not understand his words, his tone carried truth. The alien girl stepped beside him, her hand in his. She looked at the chief with pleading eyes. The silence stretched longer. The tribe leaned forward, waiting for the judgment that would decide his fate. At last the chief spoke. His words rang through the camp like thunder. The girl translated in a shaking voice. The chief declared that the boy was no longer an outsider, no longer only human. He was something greater, cursed and chosen. At the same time, he had fought not just with claws, but with heart. For that, he would be named a warrior of the tribe. The crowd erupted in mixed cries. Some shouted in protest, others in support, but none dared to question the chief's decision. His word was law. The boy stood still, his breath heavy, his heart pounding with disbelief. He had been spared, more than spared. He had been accepted. Vaynor's eyes burned with rage, but he could not speak against the chief. He turned away, his pride shattered. His hatred, however, did not fade. The alien girl smiled through her tears. She pressed her forehead gently against the boy's, whispering his name. He did not know her words, but he understood her heart. The chief raised his hand once more. He looked at the boy with stern eyes. His final words were clear, though the girl spoke them softly. "You are warrior, but remember, the beast is part of you. Control it, or it will control us all." The boy nodded, his fists clenched, his heart filled with fire. He had fought monsters outside and within, and though the struggle was not over, he had gained a place. For the first time, he was no longer just a lost human. In a strange world, he was protector. As dawn broke over the mountains, the tribe began to rebuild. Smoke rose from the fires, children laughed again. The boy stood among them, his arms still glowing faintly. The beast inside him growled, but he held it back with human strength. The alien girl walked beside him. The chief watched him with guarded trust, and the tribe whispered his name. The boy who fought the great beast, the boy who carried the curse, the boy who had become more than human. And in the quiet of his heart, he swore a vow. Whatever awaited, he would not let the beast win. ***.